Well, greetings and welcome to DTLT Today.
Hello.
How's it going, Andy?
Welcome. It's going good.
Yeah.
We have a friend here with us. Our big toe has gone missing again.
Again?
Apparently he's up in the New York City vicinity.
Yeah. He's occupying something.
I think he's...
I'm not sure if it's Wall Street
or
the pizza...
some pizza place down,
down
in
there.
Greenwich Village. So we kind of had to have something to represent the big toe on our show today. So
it's appropriate. It's a good look for him, actually.
I think we should outfit him this way as soon as he comes back. And I do love the pink sunglasses.
Yeah. And you're on your iPad. This is day 2?
Yeah.
3? I've lost count already.
Well,
I'm sure maybe you have as
well.
well.
It was I guess 2 shows ago or whatever that we tried to get the Mac integrated into the show and it died on us. So I am using my iPad to try to keep up.
Now here's what I'm interested in. So you've been using your iPad pretty much as your sole computing device, and a lot of people that will say, oh, you know, an iPad is as good as a laptop. Do you feel that way at this point, or are you about ready to break?
No, the thing that I liked about the iPad is the mail client, and it does a lot of what I like to do, and I can view threads and that sort of thing, but it isn't quite the full mail client that, especially the Lion mail client that's out there that I've been using. So it's a little bit tough. I needed to go back and search for other emails to try to get previous conversations from months back, and it hasn't been easy. Yeah. And obviously other things like, you know, using any kind of creative software. Right now I'm working on another project where I'm working on another computer. Yeah. So that hasn't been a real issue, but it would be nice to have a regular, even a laptop, come in soon. So if anybody has any influence out there.
All our sponsors that we're going to contact after this to hit us up.
Exactly. So what are we talking about today, Tim?
Well,
besides the absence of Jim Groom and the absence of my MacBook Pro, what are we talking about? Let's talk about something that's actually present.
Well, Andy, you know, it's interesting. You were talking about doing creative projects, and I think that's a perfect segue into what we were going to talk about. You know, we do some interesting stuff here on DTLT Today, and it's sort of become like a pet hobby of mine to make, you know, creative things with it. That intro that you just saw was something that I did, the audio for it, and often when you go into a creative project, there seems to be, you know, several elements to it. You know, you've got whatever audio that you're going to use, whether it be from the video or something separate from it. You know, the visual aspect of it, typography and fonts that you can use, and we cover some of this stuff. We do a Stuff for Starving Students each year where we, for the students who come in, to where we talk about some of this kind of stuff. And I thought it would be helpful to, you know, we always try to go towards the free route, and the free stuff is good, the open source, and you know, there's a lot of stuff you can find on like freesound.org and some other websites like that. But we often forget about the things that cost money, but they don't cost too much money. One of the things that I'm thinking of in terms of like stock photography, that was a really big player. I don't know if they still are too much, but iStock Photo. Right. Which, you know, when they came onto the game, it was like, here's these amazing stock photographs that you can use, and it's like $1 for a low-res one, and a high-res one was like $3. And so all of a sudden it was like you could use really high-quality work for that. Yep.
It reminds me again of the kind of the appification, for lack of a better term, of some of these resources. And I never really did get into the stock photo kind of thing. I knew iStock Photo was there, but I've always just tried to, whenever I could, use a Flickr photo. Yeah. Try to get Creative Commons, and then in other cases just kind of use, you know, the old-fashioned method of contacting people and asking permission.
Right. It goes a long way, especially in education.
Does. Well, absolutely. I mean, and I sometimes I follow it to the nth degree just to make sure. An example is the digital media cookbook site that I need to get back to and update. But I did have to contact somebody who hadn't turned on the Creative Commons, you know, idea, or actually no, they turned on the Creative Commons, but they didn't have the ability to kind of modify the photograph. So I wanted to make sure, so I contacted them, and they said, sure, have at it. Yeah. You know, appreciate that you doing that. And then they looked back at the site and they said, you know, I'm happy with this being used in this way. So contacting people is a good method of getting these resources. But so tell us some of the places that are your favorites.
Well, so one place that I go to a lot for things that I'm looking at is a place called Envato, and it's Envato, and it's a whole marketplace. I'll pull up their website here so you can see. They've got a lot of different web properties, and this is sort of a landing page for their stuff. So they've got their marketplaces where you can buy everything from like WordPress themes. There's premium themes on there, background music for projects, After Effects project files, and even Flash templates, which aren't used too much, but I can show you an example of one place where I've actually found a good use for a Flash template. These are also the same people that own the Toots Plus network. So they do tutorials for Photoshop, for JavaScript and .NET tutorials, and all kinds of different web development, audio production tutorials, even iPhone development. They've got stuff on there too. Okay. So they own all of that network. And I'll pull over here. So this is one called themeforest.net. And premium WordPress themes have become a much larger thing in the past several years as WordPress has expanded to become more of a content management system. So this is a great place to go if you look at the regular WordPress themes and templates and you're like, I'm not really feeling that.
Yeah.
And you want something that's a little bit more customized, a little bit more complex. I can tell you the DTLTtoday.com website. I went right here to themeforest.net and started looking at really good motion and video project type sites, and that was one called Motion Picture from a developer called Obox. Okay. And so I was able to find it on here, and I think it was $17.
Yeah.
Once
upon a time, I looked at ThemeForest and kind of longingly looked at some of their designs. It was probably the voice to the side of me by the name of Jim Groom, who kind of said, why would you want to pay for a WordPress theme when there's so many, that sort of thing, and you can modify them and change the CSS and so forth. But ThemeForest specifically, though, was a very attractive site to me, and what I did, I think, eventually was just kind of look for themes that could be modified to look kind of like a ThemeForest. But
sure.
But as you say, it's a very inexpensive way to go to get some really good customization.
Well, and what's nice about it is that they break down so I was searching on here for when you go into WordPress, they've got the regular blog stuff, and I think you can probably find a free blog theme that's fairly good on the web. I wouldn't necessarily feel a need to pay for a standard blog theme, but they also get into creative sites, corporate, retail, technology. I went here under entertainment, and I always like to order it by how many sales they've had, because that's usually a good indicator that something's good. And so this top one here is actually for a restaurant. And this one's actually not cheap. It's $40. But this is so much more high quality than anything that you really see from a free WordPress theme.
Sure.
So, it's incredible the kind of stuff that they offer. And this is a WordPress theme that you can then download and use. And a lot of them have a lot more customization in terms of what WordPress offers from the regular, sometimes you install a theme and it's like, there it is and you can use it, but there's not a whole lot of customization. On a lot of these, there's a whole page or two of separate options, different things that you can upload, different backgrounds, different colors and themes.
Now, do you modify them enough so that it isn't recognizable? Because one of the things that I always think about is I wouldn't necessarily search for a theme based on the number of sales, because I would think, well, everybody has this website out here. I want mine to look, it's the old car thing. It's where people want to buy the car that looks a little bit different than everybody else's. Do you customize the themes once you get them?
I tend to in some ways, but I don't worry about it too much. The internet is a large place, and the theme that I just pulled up, which was the most popular restaurant entertainment one, had 1,900 sales. Okay. So you can guess that maybe out of those, if 3/4 of them were live, then you're talking 1,300 websites. But the internet's such a large place, I don't really worry about it. Even if someone was to say, maybe that's recognizable, a lot of times I find it's the content on your website that people are going to remember so much more than the actual design of it. Whether that background, hey, I've seen that linen paper background before, or I've seen that color on that font or that particular typeface.
Well, and in some cases, I'm using some of the more popular websites with, as you say, like a different header, and it still makes it different enough. And I still don't worry about some of the sites that I have looking the same. And I think you get to that a further step if you actually are paying for a theme. As little as it is, the 10 or 15 or $25 or whatever it is,
right.
You're still getting something that also you can customize to probably change the look, even slightly to really make it a unique looking theme.
And it's worth noting that ThemeForest has not just WordPress themes, but they also have Photoshop templates for websites. They've got email HTML templates that you can use, and regular old HTML websites. If you were building something and you were trying to integrate some other content management system, you could start with a bare bones website from them and do that. Another website that's really nice is Audio Jungle. So this one is where you can get royalty-free audio files, and they start at $1.
Now, is this where you got the DTLT theme music?
It is.
This is
it
the
actually
place
is.
Where the DTLT theme music exists. So if you too want to have your television show have the cool music that DTLT Today has, go to, what's that website again, Tim?
It's audiojungle.com.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Audiojungle.com.
So, and again, they break stuff down. So you've got music packs, you've got sound effects that you can use, or sets of audio files, or you could just go into your music. So say I wanted a country western audio thing. Again, I'm going to search either by sales or by ratings. Sales is going to be the biggest indicator. So the most popular one on here has been sold 62 times. And it's not that anyone's going to go, hey, I recognize that one, in the same way that they would with like radio or something like that. You can play previews on here, and I'll play this one.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Cool. Now, do they have like GarageBand loops and things like that?
Let me check.
As you're talking about this, I'm
curious. They do, yeah. Well, I don't see GarageBand in here, but they've got Cubase, Logic Pro, Pro Tools, Reason.
Okay.
So a couple of those more advanced programs that you use for audio mixing and looping and stuff like that.
Okay.
So probably musicians would be more familiar with those kind of files and things. But yeah, so they put their little, I guess, an audio watermark over the audio, but you can preview it and it'll just say Audio Jungle a couple times over top of that. Okay. And I think of it in terms of when I was working on the DTLT Today theme, it came as a pack where it was, here's the whole theme, and there was this long 2-minute thing, but then it broke it up into, here's like a 2-second kick, and here's a 15-second intro section, and then here's a piano break, and I could piece that all together in GarageBand and make a theme that was exactly the length that I wanted it to be, and worked out fine.
Well, and that's because I remember you talking about that, and that's why I thought it was something that came natively with GarageBand, because a lot of those theme songs are broken.
Yeah, and in that case, it was just a set of WAV files that came in a zip file folder. So
yeah, and you probably could take some of those loops that they have if they have a wave component to them and GarageBandize them, because there is a way to kind of do that. So I'll have to check that out, because I'm always looking for different drum loops and that sort of thing to play around with in GarageBand.
Now, I mentioned Flash, and they've got a site called ActiveDen.
You mentioned, what is it called? What is it?
Have you heard of Flash?
Boy,
do people even use that?
I have to go put in the Wayback Machine and think about what Flash was and did.
I'll give you a hint. Don't look it up on there, because you'll have a little bit of an issue.
It'll say something about I need some kind of player.
Maybe, some sort of plugin or something like that. Machine. And, usually I'm not going to go to Flash for much of anything these days, but one place where I did find that I needed something was, we've been playing around with Wowza and the ability to broadcast video. Well, I wanted to find a Flash player that could record video and automatically send it to Wowza.
Right.
And sure enough, there was a $10 file called Webcam Recorder where I could put all of the server settings on there. And then when someone hit go, it would automatically broadcast from their webcam and microphone directly to a Wowza server.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be huge when we're able to have the server on campus for anybody to kind of do those recordings and get it directly up to
I
the
think
server.
In terms of like DS106 TV and the idea that anybody anywhere could broadcast.
Yeah, they don't have to use YouTube to get that stuff up. They can have that little extra bit of control. put it on our server to repurpose. So
yeah, so that was an edge case, but
sure.
Things like that. It looks like less and less people are going to that site for much of anything. The more popular things have only had a couple sales.
Okay.
But it may be useful if you have some particular edge case where HTML5 is not going to cut it just yet.
Sure. I hear Flash is big in the Ukraine.
Is it?
These days? I don't know if that's true or not. I made that up.
So, and the last thing that I want to mention, so I mentioned the intro to the DTLTtoday.com, and that's fairly new. We unveiled that like 2 weeks ago, I think, and it was something where I had decided I wanted to look in more to After Effects, program that Adobe makes for motion graphics, and there's this whole website for video clips, not regular video files, but actual template files that you can put into After Effects. And it's called Videohive.net. Again, this is another one of those Envato marketplaces.
Boy, you are resource rich today, Tim. Holy cow.
Or I'm a shill for Envato. You'd think we had a sponsor here or something.
From what I understand, they're not a paid spokesman yet.
Yeah, we only wish, right? So here's the thing. So I can go under here for motion graphics, and I can say, show me some interesting lower thirds. Again, I'm going to order by sales here to get the good stuff.
Now, are these animated lower thirds?
They are, yeah. Okay. So After Effects is going to be all motion graphics. Okay. So they'll give you these video previews, and I can pull this one up. They'll have their little watermark over top of it. But that's an example of a lower third.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
See that on there. Yeah, so, it's something that's just a little bit nicer than just that default stuff that you might get in Wirecast, and it's dirt cheap. That lower third is $6, and it's customizable. You can put your own text in there. A lot of times you can change the colors on there by just changing an alpha key.
Now, do you have to have a certain version of After Effects? Do they talk about, having the latest version of After Effects, like 5.5 for some of these, or do they how far backwards can you go in terms
Usually,
of
if it requires some of the newer features, they will say that in the description. Okay. If there's no call out on there saying these were made with After Effects 5.0 or something like that, then you can probably assume to go back. I wouldn't go back any further than 3.
Okay.
So After Effects, apparently major things happen between the changes. So I wouldn't go back much further. And sometimes they may require some extra plugins and things. And they tell all that in the description.
Okay.
So. Logo stings, I can pull one of these up. These are really cool and something that I've thought about doing. I just haven't found the project yet that fits for it, but they're so awesome. So, like, for example, this one's called the Particle Reveal.
Okay.
I'll go to the video preview. Show you. Yeah, the server's a little slow.
It's all right.
But it's just, stuff like that's kind of cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah. And it's got a bunch of different ones.
Easily see DTLT today being revealed in that way.
Right, for like a transition or something like that.
Yes, we need more transitions.
And you know what I will say? It is, in terms of, like, okay, so people who see the DTLT Today intro, that their first thought is probably, wow, that's cool. And then if they saw something else that used it, because it is a fairly popular thing according to that marketplace and the sales for that, and they might go, oh, he didn't make that whole thing. But for me, it was a good intro to getting started with After Effects.
Well, and these, I take it that any of these projects are modifiable to any extent.
Absolutely.
You don't have to just keep the template in there and they're locked down or anything like that.
And I think that's a good lesson for people is that you don't always have to start from scratch. If you were to fire up Photoshop and you get this blank space, a lot of times what you're going to make is not going to look good because you don't even know where to start, and there's so many tools. Whereas when you can start with a template file and start adjusting things and go, okay, when I move this knob, this changes on the template. And when I do this, that happens. And then you can make that correlation.
Yeah, exactly. Well, see, now you got me all excited to go look for this stuff and start playing around with After Effects. And I don't come in at 7 in the morning like you do, so I'm probably never going to get to this stuff.
But, and you may need it like a real computer before you even get into any of this.
Does After Effects run on the iPad?
I don't think it does.
I tend to figure it needs a little bit more horsepower than what this has.
Maybe not. So, well, I think we've covered it all. That's been another episode DTLT Today, and we'll be looking forward. I think we're out our big toe for the rest of the week, which is get on in there.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
All right. Thanks for watching.
Come back, big toe.